So let's see how a pimple is formed. Okay. So this is our skin. In skin we have follicle. In Sinhala yani roma koopa තියෙනවා follicle. Okay. So I'm drawing it now. And here it has another thing like that, and it is full of some glands. It is called sebaceous gland. So those are sebaceous glands. This is the follicle and this is sebaceous glands. Okay, inside this one, sebaceous gland. Sebaceous gland excrete a oily substance called sebum. Okay, oily substance called sebum. So actually in lipid lesson I have told you lipids can be categorized into 4 types: triglyceride, phospholipids, wax and steroid. Triglyceride, phospholipids, wax and steroid. So sebum is a mixture of triglyceride, mainly triglyceride and wax. About 50%, 58% of triglyceride and wax, it is 28%, roughly. Okay, so it is a mixture of triglyceride and wax, sebum. So this sebaceous gland produce that sebum, which is a mix of triglyceride and wax, and it comes onto the surface with that open area, and it covers our skin. So likewise, in every place we have follicle, it covers our skin with that oily layer. Because of that, our total body is covered with the lipid layer. Okay, covered with the lipid layer, although we do not know. So what is the purpose of this lipid layer? So now we know our body is covered with the oily layer, okay, all the parts, but we don't have follicle in our palms, and අපේ follicle නැති දැන් ගත්තොත් අපේ අත්ල කියන එකේ follicle රෝම කූප නැහැ, සහ අපේ තව තියෙන යටිපතුල් මොන දෙකේ නැහැ. So except those 2 areas, all the other areas we have follicle. That means our body is covered with that lipid layer. Why this lipid layer? Okay, so there are 2 reasons for this lipid layer, and those are the actually advantages. One thing is to conserve water. How this come? So in lipid lesson, I have told you in our skin we have a small lipid layer, thin lipid layer which covers our skin. That is this one. This is how that lipid layer is formed. Okay, but in the lipid lesson I didn't tell you how this lipid layer is formed. Okay, that is why I decided to tell you about that pimple, how a pimple is formed. Okay, so this is the lipid layer. This is our skin. At the top of our skin we have a small lipid layer, oily layer. Because of that lipid layer, water cannot pass through this lipid layer and travels into the surrounding atmosphere from our body. Why? Because lipids are impermeable impermeable to water. Impermeable to water. That means water cannot pass through lipids. Lipid එක හරහා මේ ජලයට ගමන් කරන්න බෑ. අපි කියනවා impermeable to water. Impermeable to water කියන්නේ lipid එක හරහා ජලයට ගමන් කරන්න බෑ. Because of the property, our water inside our body cannot pass through this lipid layer and goes into the atmosphere, goes into the surrounding of our surrounding. That means we can conserve the water. There is no loss of water because of this lipid layer. We can conserve the water. ඇතුලේ තියෙන අපේ ශරීරය ඇතුලේ තියෙන ජලය අපිට conserve කරන්න පුළුවන්. රැක ගන්න ජල සංරක්ෂණය කරගන්න පුළුවන්. පිටතට ඒක ගොඩක් හානි වෙන්න නොදී. water loss එකක් ඇති වෙන්න නොදී මේ lipid layer මගින් ආරක්ෂා කරනවා. That is the first thing, and the second thing is it acts as a protective layer. Protective layer. That means actually when we going out or we wear our clothes, but if you consider our skin in our face, it is not protected or it is not covered. Because of that, always the skin in our face is exposed to the environment. Environment, we have some dust and other particles. Because of that, they can damage our skin in the face, because face is the main thing which already exposed, always exposed to the environment. So the dust and other particles can damage our skin. This lipid layer also act as a protective layer which does not allow to damage our skin. So those are the two advantages of this lipid layer. But if we produce excess sebum, which is not the required amount, okay, which is exceed the required amount. මේ sebum හදන මේ sebum එකනේ oil එකක් විදිහට අපේ cover කරන්නේ හැම මේක ඕනවටත් වඩා නිපද වුණොත්, if sebum is exceeded, it get collected in our on the top of our skin like this. Okay, actually sebum is a very sticky one, sticky. So I have already told you in our top layer of our skin, some of the cells become dead and some cells are regenerated and dead. So there are dead cells in the top of our skin. Okay, so this sticky sebum, what will that sticky sebum is doing is they collected in this area, in this open area, and it combined with those dead cells. That sticky sebum combined with those dead cells and block this open area. It is collected in this open area. අර මැරිච්ච සෛලත් එක්ක එකතු වෙලා මේක ගොඩක් ඇලෙන සුළු ද්‍රව්‍යයක් නේ. අර මැරිච්ච සෛල ඔක්කොම ඇත්ත එක්ක මේක එකතු වෙලා මේ ඕපන් ඒරියා වහ ගන්නවා. බ්ලොක් වෙනවා. ඕපන් ඒරියා ඇත්තටම බ්ලොක් වෙනවා ඒවත් එක්ක ඇවිල්ලා මේ හැදෙන ක්‍රියාවලිය හින්දා. සීබම් එක වැඩිපුර හැදෙන්න ඒක ගොඩක් ඇලෙන හින්දා අර මැරිච්ච සෛලත් මේකත් එක්ක එකතු වෙලා මේ හැමතැනම බ්ලොක් වෙන්න ගන්නවා. So what happens is, although a sebaceous gland produce sebum, the sebum cannot come onto the top of the skin. Because of that, it is collected like this. Because the sebum now the sebaceous glands are producing cannot come onto the top of the skin. Okay. Now bacteria come to play. Okay. Bacteria come and act on this extra sebum. What happens is they produce other substance. I will delete sorry, erase this follicle for a little bit. Okay, what happens is bacteria comes and act on this extra sebum and they produce other substances. What happens is our skin is emerged like this and it is filled with the extra sebum and the other substance which caused by the bacteria. Okay. So that emerged area we call that a pimple. Okay, that is how a pimple is formed, because of that extra sebum. Okay, what does vitamin can do? What can vitamin do is, vitamin A reduces the extra sebum they produce. Vitamin A can reduce the extra sebum they can produce. Because of that, they can reduce the possibility of forming pimples. I have already told you this entire process is because of that extra sebum. Extra sebum is the cause to make a pimple, to form a pimple. Vitamin A can reduce the extra sebum they are producing, so it prevents from pimple forming. And actually, it reduces the possibility to form a pimple. So that is how a pimple is formed, and that is how vitamin A is helping to reduce the possibility of forming pimples. Okay.